Welcome to the Frogs and Grog experience. We ask that you silence your cell phones and give us your undivided attention.
Like and subscribe, and leave your answer to the weekly question in the comments. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Hello, welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm so hyped. We're doing our challenge. We're finishing off the challenge here. So,
Your challenge?
the challenge...
Just remembered, we didn't think of anything for the next we'll come up with one.
We'll come up with another challenge. We'll announce it and all that. But anyways, so the challenge for all of you who have been listening, and it's been a minute since we updated. You know, I mean, I think we updated last time at January, like halfway through. Anyways, the challenge was to write a short story.
All right.
That was like minimum like 5 pages. Like not a big deal.
I will be honest. I suck at writing.
That's fine.
I'm approached 5 pages. I had
That's
like
fine.
4 and 2/3.
Yeah, I hit 5 pages, so that's it. I didn't even go over. Yeah. Oh, nice. No, you're good. You're good. Again, like the last couple times we've done stuff that I've sucked at too, and so I'm not at all gonna. And I didn't even finish them. I applaud you for actually finishing. Good job. This is the first challenge I've finished. We've done 3. So.
Let's go.
Oh man, do not put me in the beast games, guys. Do not put me in the beast games. I will not finish any challenges. No. Crazy. But yeah, so we were writing a short story. We both decided to do ones themed around the PKRs because they're good. We're doing the PKRCU. So, who do we want to go first? That's the question.
I think we should have you go first. I'm excited to hear about your tale of intrigue.
Yes, okay. And so, okay, really quick, let's just give like a quick, like, what's the theme of your story here? Like, I mean, it's PKRs, but
it's like the origin type story, origin type story. I was like, originally, I didn't have a lot of ideas, but eventually I came up with a couple good ones, and then yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah, so mine is also PKRs. Mine is like a side quest that they go on for a sorcerer. But I did include a short backstory in mine to set the stage, so there will be conflicting stories here. They're separate universes. They're separate universes, guys, officially. There's 2 PKR universes, alright?
Headcanons. Right?
It's these are the headcanons, yeah, of course. I mean that's why they're fanfics, right? They're not accurate. So, anyways, okay. Just had to clear that up before we get into it.
Full lore.
Yes, we got to do an official lore. Go through all of our videos and like type it out in a story of them fighting all the demigods and stuff. So, anyways, all right, you guys ready for this story time? Okay, here we go. Here comes the PKR story. All right. 2 lone figures rested next to a glowing, graceful shard. They were clad in golden armor, complemented by red fabric and a red plume coming from their helmets. They were formidable-looking warriors, the deep scratches and blemishes on their armor telling the stories of many battles fought and won. They wielded terrifying weapons, one a spear and the other a scythe, both of which had wreaked many lives. They truly had a menacing presence, warding off many creatures as they rested. The 2 warriors removed their helmets, and they were frogs? The 2 warriors had killed nameless soldiers and demigods alike were anthropomorphic frogs? Who would have guessed? As they sat and chatted, any who listened would have forgotten their fear for feelings of confusion. No luck yet. Damn, this quest is really dragging on, one of the frogs sighed. This frog had brown skin and broad shoulders, and he wielded the scythe. Yeah, how are we supposed to find them? There are no guides or clues in the area, and no one else seems to know anything. The other frog, green and slimmer than his counterpart, who wielded the spear, seemed stumped. These frogs were once clean, wrought knights, elite soldiers who served millennia, and fought to the bitter end. The frogs had met their end in the swamps of Aeonia, sinking into the bog to be buried with hundreds of their fallen comrades. However, a Celian sorcerer who meddled in transformation magic dug their corpses up and resurrected them as an experiment. It worked, but their bodies took on the shapes of frogs. Also, it seemed their genitals were still human and did not work correctly, so the mad sorcerer named them the Peen Knot Rites, as a play on words on Clean Rot Nights. The sorcerer was known for his madness, and so the unfortunate knights couldn't really protest their new names. He had given them personal names, and those were odd as well. The brown frog was named Red Hue 32, as he was the 32nd iteration of his experiments named this way. The green one was named the Wicked Bitch, as he had a particularly foul mouth. They went by Red and Bitch, respectively, as that was shorter. The two frogs were bound to the mad sorcerer's service, and his recent quest seemed to be giving them more trouble than they expected. Damn that old bastard, he really lost it this time. We followed his instructions to the letter, and there's nothing here. We're on a fucking wild goose chase, I tell you. Bitch was not having it. The only instructions they were given were to go to Limgrave and seek out a sorceress who owed him a favor. They were given a soggy eyeball that the old man called a shabriri grape that he claimed he could see through when activated. He told the frogs to give the eyeball to the sorceress and then return to Celia. It does seem that way. No one seems to know of a sorceress, better yet, one that owes the old man a favor. He doesn't really get out much, so I'm surprised he knows anyone other than us. Yeah, that damn coot is gonna drive me mad. I wish he'd let us stay dead. The duo was currently camped along the western border of Limgrave, near the ocean. They had spent the last few days scouring the region for the sorceress, to no avail. They had made camp for the night and decided to return to Celia the next day to ask the old man for more information. Bitch pulled the eyeball from a pouch on his belt and rolled it between his fingers. He had made a habit of doing so when he got stressed, and it seemed to calm him down. He had done it many times in the last few days, and despite that, it was always slimy when he pulled it out. This damn thing is so creepy. Why would the bastard give this to a woman? If he's trying to woo her, he's only going to manage to make her avoid him more after this. Who in their right mind would want a disgusting eyeball? Red looked at the eyeball with contempt. It was definitely really gross. No clue. She does owe him a favor, so I'm sure it has nothing to do with flirting or romance. Of course, I have no clue what's going through that man's head, so it very well could be. Bitch put the eyeball away and pulled a sleeping roll out of his bag. Well, no use trying to figure out what's going on anymore. Let's just get some sleep and head back. I'm gonna put that old man's head on my spear when I see him next. This shit makes no sense. Bitch laid out his roll and unceremoniously plopped on the ground and fell fast asleep. Red soon followed suit, not wishing to waste more time. When morning came, the two quickly packed up camp and planned their route. They were going to take the main road past Agheel Lake, as it was the most direct route. The two were powerful, so not many other threats other than Agheel could really pose an issue for them. They had already slain the dragon several days ago. As long as the two frogs stayed alert, they would be okay. As they left for Celia, they ran into a few different monsters and slew them with relative ease. A large rat species they called Remy that was common in the area gave them a little trouble, but they handled it quickly. The frogs made good time and passed Agheel Lake as the sun began to set. They crossed a bridge and began to look for a suitable spot to make camp. As the frogs wandered the area, they began to feel the ground shake. It was very slight at first, but soon the shaking became much more pronounced and threatened to throw the frogs off balance. Damn! Feels like giants! Find a spot to hide! Bitch dove into some bushes, Red quickly following. They were tired and did not feel like dealing with another group of monsters before bed, so they opted to hide rather than fighting. As they crouched in the bushes, they could hear the patrol getting closer, the large footsteps growing louder with the second. As they watched the road ahead of them, the moon peeked up over the horizon. How many are there, bitch? Not sure yet, but they got some big fuckers, that's for sure. Must be a transport with guards. No way they lug one of them around for patrol. Bitch was, in fact, correct. The patrol was not a patrol, but a transport, accompanied by a guard. As the transport rounded the corner, they saw two hulking figures fill the entire road. The monsters were easily over 10 meters tall, pale-skinned, and only clothed by a small loincloth that did not really do the monsters justice. They had large metal spikes protruding from their shoulders, originally used to anchor chains into the ground. On the spikes, chains connected them to a large black wagon. The two giants moved slowly, dragging their feet with every step. Around the giants, a few soldiers and mindless nobles stood guard, watching the surrounding area with dead eyes. Ah, shit. There's 2 of them. Bitch whined. We can hide from the big ones, but the guards might see us. We gotta find a better spot. Red looked around them, searching for any spot suitable for hiding from the guards. Across the road there was a large ruin, which seemed abandoned long ago. There! Let's run across before they see us, bitch! Red pointed the ruin out to Bitch. They rolled out of the bushes and snuck across the road. Under the cover of night, they were able to avoid the prying eyes of the guards for the time being. They quietly passed under the arch that once served as the entrance to the ruin and studied their surroundings. The building once seemed to serve as some sort of religious building, but now it was in shambles. The roof was completely caved in, and grass grew through the stone tiles of the floor. They seemed to be in a small hallway that connected to a few rooms. One led into a larger room they couldn't see into, another into a smaller room with some stairs. Bitch peeked around the corner of the entrance, watching the transport. Good. Looks like they didn't see us. Let's wait them out here. We can find a spot to camp farther away from these guys. Red agreed. They continued to watch the transport as they passed the ruins, anxiously waiting for the chance to escape. As they watched, the ruins around them suddenly began to glow, the sounds of small bells and chimes ringing in their ears. Shit. Bitch cut his curse short, and the frogs jumped as streaks of light began to fall from the sky, assaulting the spot they were previously standing. Run for the stairs! It's a flower! Red shouted. The frogs dashed for the stairs in one of the rooms, hoping to escape the rain of stars. This indeed was the work of a giant flower who aimed to kill and eat the frogs. The frogs heard the ringing of bells again as they dove into the stairway, narrowly avoiding the rain of stars once again. Damn it, we can't catch a break! Bitch was not happy about their current circumstances. The frogs dashed down the stairs, seeking shelter from the flower. As they descended, they found something much more sinister than any flower or caravan. It was a wow, my gosh, sorry, I can't speak. It was a wall of golden mist. The frogs had seen it plenty of times before. This indicated that a powerful enemy had made their lair beyond the wall, and they could only be challenged by strong heroes. The frogs were no heroes, but they were plenty strong. Damn, what do we do, bitch? If we stay, we'll die, and if we go, we'll die. I don't want to die again. Bitch groaned, shaking his head in frustration. Let's take our chances with the mist. The second we step foot beyond the stairs, we'll be skewered by stars, and if we manage to escape in decent shape, the convoy will get us. 2 enemies is more than 1. Let's do 1. Red and Bitch both sighed and faced the mist. Well, no time like the present, I guess. Red reached for the mist. As his hand touched the mist, it almost felt solid. He held his hand there for a moment, and the mist slowly dissipated, allowing the frogs to pass through. The battle passed quickly, and the frogs entered Selen's chamber. A sorceress stood before them, clad in a blue robe. She wore a large stone mask on her head and no shoes. Red was instantly mesmerized by the lack of shoes. Who are you? Whoa! Red said. I am the sorceress Selen. I hear that, you've been looking for me. How did you know we were looking for you? Bitch said. Oh, I have my ways. Selen, reached her hand out. I hear you have something for me. The frogs gave her the grape and left quickly. Bitch having to drag Red out after looking at his feet. At her feet. Being mesmerized. They quickly made camp and ran back to Celia, back to their master. As the frogs returned to their master, he interviewed them about their adventure. Well, we've had a whole lot of nothing, and then more nothing. We killed a dragon. We ran into some big guys with, some really tiny clothes. Almost got skewered by stars. Fought a big pumpkin head monster. And saw a beautiful woman with beautiful feet, Red said. Bitch kind of hit him hard and knocked him out, or brought him back to his senses. Oh, good. You did fantastically. You gave the sorceress with the nice feet the grape, correct? Yeah. What's the grape do? Well, as I told you before, it lets you see through it when activated with mana. You see, a long time ago, I struck up a deal with Selin, the sorceress. A bet, actually. It was that, I could make 2 of the strongest warriors in the land, and if I did, I would get feat privileges for my entire life. What are feat privileges? Bitch asked. Well, you see, I get to look at her feet whenever I like. That's it. The frogs were very confused. Um, cool, old man. So, is that it? Pretty much. Alright, I have a new adventure for you now. And he proceeded to brief them on their next outing. The frogs learned this day that their master was a little crazier than they thought before. So, they set off on their new adventure, and the master got feat privileges forever, with which we don't know what he'll do. So, there we go. There's the end. GG's. W.
Gorgeous, beautiful. Feat privileges for the listener that's coming in an upcoming Patreon announcement and OnlyFans announcement.
I'm pretty sure we've showed our feet on stream.
Yeah, we have, but they get unlimited feet every month. That's what I'm talking about.
Feet every month, and new pictures, dirty feet, clean feet,
dirty, clean, manicured. Or, no, it's pedicured.
Oh, that's right, Yeah. Manicure is your fingernails and pedicure is toes, I believe. Right. Not that I've ever got one before.
Fresh pedicured toes,
dude.
Painted toenails, the whole shlang bang. Dude.
We gotta go get pedicures just for funsies. For the lore, bro.
Yes.
That'd be amazing.
Spa day episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I apologize about the rushed ending there, but it's pretty fun.
My ending is also rushed, so
I bet.
Worry about that.
No worries. Let's hear.
I was muted the whole time. You don't have to, but I was muted because I've got birds in the background.
Right.
Pretty loud sometimes. So, all right. So, this is my story. This is on the origin of the PKR.
Bet.
Let's begin. The storm had been raging for hours, with constant wind knocking on every window of the academy. As per usual, Ressa had been assigned to the worst task of attending to the queen and her children, in quotation marks. This task wasn't terrible, except for the constant ramblings of the Sweetings, who had lost their minds to Queen Renala's experiments and Renala herself, who kept trying to convince Ressa to be reborn. The academy was unusually busy today, with many guests having an audience with the queen every couple of minutes. From what Ressa could gather from the snippets of conversations she heard, there was a war brewing between her son, Great General Radon, and his sister, Melania, half-sister. Many visitors were from the Red Mane Army and came attempting to get the Glintstone Sorcerers to join their war camps as a support unit. The last guests for the day were a small envoy from Melania's army. They had arrived to negotiate a possible treaty for the guaranteed peace between them, and had brought many gifts of runes and rare magic books. Ressa was cleaning up after some of the Sweetings and getting ready to retire to her quarters when she heard a large boom and watched as the chandelier above her head was knocked off its chain by a stray magic book thrown by one of the reborn. Time seemed to slow down as the moment of her death approached. She saw memories of her family, friends, fragments of all the hours she had poured into studying old texts to get into Raya Lucaria. She saw all the times her classmates had bullied her and all the terrible tasks assigned to her by the professors and students that had acted as a hazing for this stupid and terrible place. The last visions she saw was a brief moment of peace. She saw what could only be described as an angel, the warm yellow glow of a halo that let her know her time was up. Then it all went black. Ressa was now standing in one of the great halls of a church. She had a gorgeous, flowing white dress and was holding a bouquet. Surrounding her were dozens of seats where her friend's family all smiled. She looked down at her hands, surprised to find a second set of hands holding her own. Her eyes slowly moved up the other person's arms until they settled on a tall, ruggedly handsome man whose smile could rival the brilliance of the sun. She then lifted into the air, was then lifted into the air as the whole chapel erupted into vigorous applause. She closed her eyes and carried away into a beautiful sunset. Uh, when her eyes opened again, Ressa felt rather disappointed with reality, as rather than a beautiful stranger's soft arm, she was being carried by a man in full plate. Her back was now being supported by hard metal bracers. As she began writhing and searching for a more comfortable position, she felt the knight stumble and slightly lose his balance, dropping her to the floor. Fortunately, Ressa was able to prevent herself from getting another head injury by landing on her back instead. It only slightly knocked the air out of her. The knight quickly apologized by saying, "Sorry, you took me by surprise." He reached out his hand. "Malfer Redhue's the name," he said as he helped Ressa back onto her feet. She took the man's hand. "Ressa, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance," she said, and gave a small curtsy. "Now then, Mr. Malfoy Redhue, would you mind telling me where you were carrying me off to in such a hurry?" Ressa asked. "Well, after the accident with the chandelier, we figured it would probably be best to carry you directly to the infirmary. But seeing as you're awake and on your feet, I guess my job here is done. It was a pleasure meeting you as well, Miss Ressa," Malfoy replied, and gave a short bow before he began walking back to the throne room. Ressa bowed her back. Ugh, that's a typo. Ressa bowed back and began walking to the infirmary. As she continued forward, she grew increasingly annoyed that someone who had dropped her on the ground would leave her so abruptly, not even escort her all the way to the infirmary. She looked back to see if maybe he had changed his mind about leaving her, but he was already far out of sight. Ressa was finally discharged from the infirmary several weeks later. Enough time had passed that she had nearly forgotten the whole chain of events that had led to her brief stay in the infirmary. That was fine by her, though, as she had become very busy in the academy, as more and more visitors came to convince the sorcerers to help with their faction's war preparations. Ressa didn't really care much for all the war preparations. She knew she wouldn't be on any front lines, due to her position as the queen's attendant. She actually found all the visitors in the castle to be rather annoying, but of course, she had to hold her position with dignity to not embarrass herself or the queen. Occasionally, Ressa would see Cleanrot Knights gathering an audience with the queen, and secretly hoped she would see Malfoy standing with them so she could give him a piece of her mind. But he hadn't appeared since her incident with the chandelier. As the days went on, the academy and the queen began to get fewer and fewer visitors until one day they received none at all. In fact, there were almost no people in the entire academy at all. Not that Ressa minded much. This would allow her to use all of the usually overcrowded facilities at the academy, or so she thought. Ressa woke up one cold morning and did her usual preparations, went to the library to enjoy some studying, till it was finally time to attend to the queen. When she finally got up to the queen's room, she saw that the queen was already dressed for travel and saying goodbye to all of her strange sweetings. Ressa was confused and asked, "Are we leaving for somewhere, my queen?" To which the queen responded, "I have a terrible feeling this whole war will end terribly for Radon. I would like to visit his war camp to say one last goodbye. You will be accompanying me down to Redmayne Castle." Redmayne Castle was in a frenzy when they arrived, with many soldiers making final war preparations. The queen and Ressa made their way to the central area, where they saw General Radon giving a rousing speech to the soldiers, who were anxious for the upcoming battle. Ressa and the queen were eventually led away from the crowd to meet Radon. Unfortunately, in all of the chaos, Ressa got separated from Queen Renala and was lost amongst the Redmayne soldiers. She looked around, desperate to find the queen, but was unfortunately swept away into the crowd. Nothing felt right. The pain spread from every pore in her skin, a dull burning pain that never ended. There was an external pain from whatever had overtaken Ressa. There was also a strange pain she had never felt before. It almost as if her sense of identity had begun to decay. Ressa only barely recalled that she was trying to get away from the soldiers who had attempted to give her arms as she was ushered to the large sandy battlefield. She remembered seeing the general leading the army as she tried to get away from the battle. The last thing she remembered was a large, beautiful orange flower, and then everything went black. As her eyes opened, the grisly scene was displayed in front of her. Thousands of knights lay dead on the ground all around her. A thick smell of rotting blood lingered in the air. There appeared to be many casualties for both sides. In the distance, she saw that the battle was still going on, with General Radon fighting with a swordswoman. In front of Ressa, a clean-wrought knight began to stir, and finally stood up. To Ressa's surprise, she recognized him as the man who had carried her halfway to the infirmary. Malfoy Redhue. She noticed that the front of his armor had been destroyed, and she also realized the damage was much more extensive than her own, as her clothes were only slightly burned in some places. Malfoy appeared to be barely breathing as he slowly stumbled to his feet. Ressa stood up and tried to help, but was surprised to find that she could also hardly stand. As they both struggled to their feet, they leaned on each other for support and slowly made their way over the lifeless bodies of friends and foes until they were out of the range of the battle. They finally made it away from the horrors of the war. They collapsed onto a nearby field of rotted vegetation. The once beautiful land of Caelid had rotted away, leaving an unfamiliar landscape. Ressa and Malfoy knew they didn't have much time, as their souls were rotten and bodies contorted. So they made a vow that they would destroy Melania, Radon, and the rest of the people responsible, and use the power of the Elden Ring to to restore their souls, or die trying. The end for now.
W story. W story.
Your character a name and my character a name.
Dude, goated.
The factions that they're from. So
goated, dude. I see. Okay, I love that you took a more serious take on it than I did, and I like that because it made it more different. You know, we weren't just both doing goofy stories or serious stories. Like we had different perspectives of it, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, dude, yours was so funny.
Dude, yours was so good. Yours was so hype.
Yeah, I was attempting to, in the beginning, kind of make it seem like it was going to be a typical, like, romance story, like
right?
typical fan fictions are.
Mm-hmm.
Just intentionally dropped them about halfway through, and it just, like, they were getting killed.
Yep. Dude, I saw the romance, I was like, oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, no, I was like,
oh,
yeah, I'm
so
gonna drop
funny.
that. Yeah.
Oh, you'd make a good fanfic writer, bro. Oh my
I don't know about that
gosh.
one, Chief. This was probably the hardest challenge for me to write because I was
really
cringing at myself a
yeah.
lot because
Oh, I
I'm
felt
not a
that too.
good writer.
I felt that too. There's definitely sometimes I have issues with, like rambling on or over describing things, you know. And
Yep.
so yeah, I was running into that. I was like, ah, bro, like I got to cut this down.
Yeah, I had to cut mine down so much. I had like probably 2 more pages of stuff that I had in there, and I was like, I can't have that. Cut it down. Cut it down. Cut it down.
Yeah.
It just wasn't making the story better.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. Well, there we go. There's our stories, everyone.
Oh
man,
you did the challenge. Send us your Wattpad links or whatever.
Right? Let us know if you wanna like see a PKR MCU sort of thing, you know, or the PKR cinematic universe, guys. We talked about this last time.
RCU.
Yes, we gotta do it. Anyways, I don't think I've ever written the word bitch that many times.
Dude, every time your character would say something to my character, I just died laughing. It's like, hey, bitch.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Oh, man.
Oh,
it's good. It's good. All right, guys. Yeah, let us know what you think, and we'll get back to you guys with a new challenge. For spring. There we go. I've already got some ideas that we should chat about after this. I think.
Yes, agreed. Thanks for listening. Stay groggy, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yep.